I really have just one question for you. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many?
Welcome back, everyone. If you are new here, you picked a great video to start with, so here is what you are about to watch. Attorney General Pam Bondi sat in front of a congressional committee and faced some of the most direct questioning we have seen in years. Two Democratic congressmen, Ted Lieu and Jerry Nadler, came in with documents, witness statements, and one question that nobody could answer. What happens in that room is something you genuinely need to see for yourself. Stay all the way through because the moment at the end of this clip is the one that has people still talking. And once you see it, you will completely understand why. Also, before we get into it, drop a comment and let me know where in the world you are watching from. It always amazes me how far this community reaches, and I love seeing where you all are coming from. All right, let's get into it.
Like former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files
I'm reclaiming my time. I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
President Trump asked
Mr. Chairman, please stop the clock.
sign
Stop the clock.
the legislation.
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center, because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you, here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation. And as we say here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
All right, JBL. So just let's do the first part of this first. Like, I did enjoy just the I believe you just lied under oath. I like that bluntness. A lot of times the Democrats and journalists are hesitant to just be blunt, and Ted Lieu there isn't, and he's just like, look, you said there's no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. I believe that's a lie. There is evidence that he committed a crime. Like, before we get into the specific one that Lieu brought up, I mean, Trump admitted to crimes related to women before, and he was caught on tape saying that women let you do whatever you want. And there have been many credible accusations of sexual assault that he's committed, not in court with underage
crimes.
What's that? And he's been convicted of other crimes. So, anyway, like, just on that point, she gets back into a corner, and losers are cool. Her cortisol spikes.
What I found interesting of that was that she objected to being told that she's lying under oath, because lying under oath is a thing that many of the Trump appointees have done at this point, right? And they have never seemed particularly bothered by that, right? The results seem, the general affect seems to be, so I lied under oath. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, right.
And she takes she does the sort of feel like, how dare you, sir? And I found that a little weird and interesting.
This is where the entire hearing shifts, because when Ted Lieu looked straight at the Attorney General and said, I believe you just lied under oath, he did not blink. He did not hedge. He did not say allegedly or it appears. He looked her dead in the eye and said it directly on camera, and that matters more than people realize. You have to understand what that moment actually means. When a sitting member of Congress accuses a sitting attorney general of lying under oath, that is not casual language. That is a career-defining accusation. Most politicians spend 20 minutes building up to a question just to avoid that level of directness. Ted Lieu skipped all of that. He said, "There is ample evidence in the Epstein file. Here is the document. Here is the witness." And then he waited. And the response? "Don't you ever accuse me of a crime." And that is it. No facts, no counter-evidence, no rebuttal, just outrage. And here is what blows my mind. Outrage is not a rebuttal. Anger is not an answer. When someone places a documented witness statement in front of you and says, "Here is the evidence," the correct response from the nation's top law enforcement officer is to address the document, not to perform shock for the cameras. And then Ted Lieu closed it with, "You have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you." No theatrics, no drama, just facts delivered with full conviction. That kind of directness in a hearing room is rare, and the fact that it made the Attorney General completely lose her composure tells you everything about how unprepared she was for anyone to actually push back.
And this is a thing where I do, like, as you said earlier, going forward, how serious are they about trying to hang on and start playing by extra legal means? Which we're going to see, I think, probably a lot of as this year progresses, especially as we get closer to the election. And, at some point, do they really stop? Like, does everybody stop caring that it looks like they're lying to Congress or committing perjuries? Or, there's a thing that I noticed on the White House website this week where I went to the White House website and I got a pop-up that was like, give us your email here so that we can keep you up to date with all the latest news, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought, it's possible that this is gathering emails for like White House comms purposes, but it seems also possible that this is gathering emails for like Republican fundraising, which would be, if true, a very serious violation. But like all the Hatch Act stuff, right? They've just stopped pretending to care about the Hatch Act stuff. Maybe it's like that too. I don't know.
Yeah, at this point, she's just losing her temper also. And I don't know, maybe thinks like throwing a fastball back at him. The fact that Lou brought up that the accusation or the testimony from the limousine driver, I thought was also interesting. This is just like such another difference from what any other Justice Department would do in a situation like this, right? Because like in a situation like that, the FBI gets, Donald Trump's been a famous person. Like the FBI gets bunk reports all the time from people who are either crazy people or people who are trying to cause trouble or whatever. So like, is that? Is that real? Is that legit? That is like what the job of this release should have been, right? Like that there are career prosecutors who are taking this stuff seriously, going back through everything, putting them out in a package saying, hey, here are credible accusations. Here's some things that were included that we're going to share for transparency. But like in the past, some U.S. attorney looked into it and they saw that it was, that the person was fabricating that, whatever. Like they didn't do that. They just dumped everything out there. Yeah. And so when you do that, and when the president of the United States is a serial perv and sexual assault artist, you're going to get into these situations where like, and that is obviously a very alarming report that Congressman Lieu laid out. And like our government cannot credibly interpret that for any of us. Well, and they don't seem to obviously have any interest in investigating it.
And that's the thing, right? And there's 0% chance that anybody ever goes and investigates this because that's not what our Justice Department does anymore.
What the host flagged after that exchange, and what should honestly concern all of us, is the pattern underneath it, because lying under oath used to carry real weight. There was a time in American political history where being caught in a demonstrable falsehood before Congress meant immediate consequences. Resignations, investigations, public accountability. Think about the Watergate hearings. Think about the Iran-Contra investigations in the 1980s. Those moments landed with force because the people in that room understood that congressional oversight was real, that the public was watching, and that credibility was not optional. The weight of accountability was felt in the room. What happened here was completely different. Pam Bondi was not nervous. She was not carefully weighing her words. She was performing. And the performance was aimed at one audience only, not the committee, not the victims, not the American people watching at home. And here is what people don't often think about. When an institution stops caring whether it appears credible, that is not strength. That is a structural warning sign. Credibility is not just about public image, it is about function. A law enforcement body that dismisses accountability in public cannot credibly enforce accountability in private. That is not a political observation. That is just how institutions either earn trust or lose it permanently. The host said it plainly. 0% chance anyone investigates this further, not because the documented evidence does not exist, but because the institutional will to pursue it simply is not there. And that gap between what exists on paper and what actually gets done, that is what should keep people up at night.
I want to fast forward towards the end of this here and go to Jerry Nadler, who's going to be replaced he's in the Bulwark primary. George is in there, a couple of guys, the Kennedy kid. Everybody wants Jerry Nadler's seat, and you can see why. See a senior member of the committee asked her about what I think is, again, the core question about all of this, right? Like there's a lot of, sub-stories and side stories and conspiracies, and there's political implications. Like, the real story is, who are the other co-conspirators? Is there going to be justice for the victims, right? That's the serious part about this that isn't really political at all. It's only political in the sense that, maybe some of the co-conspirators are in the inner circle of this White House, but that is what is the real thing that we need to discover here. And Nadler goes at Bondi on that point. Let's watch that.
I really have just one question for you. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the
theatrics are
question the way I asked it.
Chairman.
And then Jerry Nadler asked the one question that cut through all of it. He did not ask about timelines. He did not ask about redaction procedures or document releases or press conferences. He asked, how many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating? That is IT. That is the entire case in 2 sentences. Because everything else, the millions of pages released, the public statements about transparency, the talking points about accountability, all of it means nothing if the answer to that question is 0. You can release documents every single week. You can hold press conferences and issue statements and celebrate how open you are being. But if not one person has been charged, not one investigation is actively moving forward, but not one victim has seen justice, then what exactly was any of it for? And Pam Bondi's response to that direct and simple question was, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question. Let that land for a moment. The Attorney General of the United States, sitting before an elected Congressional committee, told a sitting congressman that accountability would happen on her terms, not the committee's, not the victim's, hers. Here is what that moment actually represents historically. Congressional oversight of the executive branch is not a courtesy. It is not optional. It is a constitutional function that exists precisely because the founders understood that executive power without legislative accountability leads somewhere dangerous. That principle goes back further than any of us. It was baked into the system because history, long before any of us were born, had already shown what happens when that check disappears. Watching that principle get dismissed in real time, not with a legal argument, not with a procedural objection, but with attitude and deflection, that is the part that should concern every single person in this country regardless of what party they support. Over 1,000 victims were referenced in that hearing room. Over 1,000 people whose lives were permanently changed. And the response from the nation's top law enforcement officer was theatrics, not answers, not accountability, not even the appearance of genuine effort, just performance. And Jerry Nadler's question is still sitting there unanswered. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.